In a remote bay in West Papua, about as far from the modern world as can be, a strange partnership developed between local fishermen and a rare giant of the ocean. 1,200 kilometres north of Australia and 2,200 kilometres east of Bali, Cendrawasih Bay is well off the beaten track. The main city, Manokwari, contains just 200,000 people, coming from over 24 local tribes. The Cendrawasih Bay Marine Park in West Papua encompasses 14,000 square kilometres, making it the largest marine park in Southeast Asia. The marine park boasts significant biodiversity, coral reef habitats, and populations of threatened marine species, like these massive giant clams. Large pelagic fish, like the barracuda, are still abundant here. In 2010, a National Geographic team doing a marine survey of the bay photographed fishermen hand-feeding giant whale sharks.
And in the afternoon after the third dive, we're going to go all the way down to Kuatisore. That's the name of the area. For more of a whale shark.
Soon, the bay became the next bucket list item for thousands of scuba divers, each paying a park fee and tipping the local fishermen to see the sharks. 31 hours of sailing from Manokwari, the dive boat approaches Kuatisore Bay, where the whale sharks can often be found. Here, around the fishing bagans in Kuatisore Bay, these giant fish can be easily approached and observed. Started as a means to protect their nets from pilfering whale sharks, the fishermen of Cendrawasih regularly feed some of their catch to the gentle giants. This simple act of altruism turned out to be an economic bonanza for the fishermen. Elsewhere in the world, divers consider themselves lucky to meet a whale shark once in many dives. Here they come in pods, and divers can swim among them unharmed, except to be careful not to be accidentally hit by their powerful tails. Divers are warned not to touch, hassle, or attempt to ride on the whale sharks. Touching their skin could remove the mucoprotein coat that prevents infections. The consistent encounters with this giant fish are associated with the presence of a local fishing platform called a bagan, which is made from wood and bamboo and has a variety of nets hanging below. The whale sharks have become conditioned by the resident fishermen, who call them by tapping on the surface of the water. These fish often remain swimming near the bagans for several hours or more. During these times, the whale sharks can be closely approached and observed by swimmers, free divers, and by scuba divers, with little effort in relatively calm conditions and for relatively long periods of time. Normally feeding on plankton, these whale sharks seem to have developed a taste for the fisherman's bait fish, an anchovy called ikan bilis in Indonesia. Rhincodon typus, the whale shark, is a slow-moving, filter-feeding shark and the largest existing fish species. The largest confirmed individual had a length of 12.65 metres and a weight of more than 21.5 tonnes. Claims of individuals over 14 metres long and weighing at least 30 tonnes are not uncommon. The whale shark holds many records for sheer size in the animal kingdom, most notably being by far the largest living non-mammalian vertebrae, rivaling many of the largest dinosaurs in weight. The whale shark species originated approximately 60 million years ago. The whale shark is found in tropical warm oceans and lives in the open sea with a lifespan of about 70 years. The name whale shark comes from the fish's physiology, being as large as many whales and also a filter feeder like many whale species. It is capable of diving to depths of at least 1,200 metres. As a filter feeder, it has a capacious mouth, which can be up to 1.5 metres wide and contains 10 filter pads and about 300 rows of tiny teeth. It has 5 large pairs of gills. 2 small eyes are located towards the front of the shark's wide, flat head. Their spots are unique to each shark and are useful for identifying separate individuals. Its skin can be up to 10 centimetres thick. The shark has a pair of dorsal fins and a pair of pectoral fins. Whale sharks migrate to feed and to breed. Little is known about their migration routes. Neither mating nor birthing of whale sharks has ever been observed. Females give birth to live young, which are about 50 centimetres long. The fishermen of Cendrawasih Bay live on bagans. Bagans are flimsy rafts floating around a large central canoe with a pair of bamboo outriggers. 2 masts support a tangle of steel wires that keep everything reasonably intact. The bait fish are kept alive in nets hanging below the bagan. Live bait is placed on hooks to catch the bigger fish. Tuna can only be caught with live bait. It is these nets of live bait hanging below the bagan that started this whole experience. Some young whale sharks somehow learned to suck on the nets to extract fish through the netting. This, of course, damaged the nets, so the fishermen learned to feed the dead bait fish to the whale sharks to keep them from sucking on the nets.
Do you feel that the whale sharks are your friend?
Ini apa?
Dia mengganggu kalau kita mancing.
Just a fish.
Yeah, well, not when they're fishing, because the lines, they hook up on the line, and usually they scare them away, the little fish around the boat.
Do you recognize individual sharks? They do recognize them. Have they named the whale sharks?
Ada pernah kasih nama kah kalau dia sering-sering datang gitu?
Tidak.
Tidak.
Are you making more money now that you're feeding the whale sharks? He's nodding his head yes. Okay.
Itu lumayan tidak dapat kalau seandainya.
Biasa juga karena itu tempol. Sekarang dia datang biasa juga dibawa. Cuma itu saja geran yang
To attract in the whale sharks for the divers, the fishermen splash on the water with a small net full of bait fish. Within a few minutes, the huge fish appear. During the night, the nets are lowered and the lights attract in small fish. Amazingly, the next morning, a small rain shower generates a rainbow. The end of the rainbow apparently touches the water at the exact place on the Bagan where the fishermen feed the whale sharks. A portent of wealth, perhaps? Unfortunately, the whale shark is targeted by commercial fisheries in several areas where they aggregate. The total worldwide population is unknown, and the species is considered vulnerable by the IUCN, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. It is listed, along with 6 other species of shark, under the CMS Memorandum of Understanding on the Conservation of Migratory Sharks. They are currently listed as a vulnerable species. However, they continue to be hunted in some parts of Asia. One of the great attractions of Cendrawasih is the ease in which one can photograph these giant animals.
We depending on the fishermen. So I hopefully in the future the government will make some permanent regulation for all the Liveaboard and also the locals.
To be in the water for that length of time with that many whale sharks is well worth the journey.
As the long journey home starts, we ponder some important questions. Is this whale shark feeding good for them? Although not ideal, as the conditioned behaviour might be replacing important survival skills, at least this is better than hunting the whale sharks, a practice common in other parts of Asia. There are some indications that these teenage whale sharks grow up strong and leave the area to join the migratory paths of feeding, mating whale sharks. Is the increasing number of divers a good or bad thing? By supplementing the fishermen's dwindling income, at least the money brought by the divers is, for now, providing an alternative to more destructive forms of exploiting marine resources. Is this ecotourism practice sustainable? Maybe. If the fishermen, villagers, government, the operators, and the divers cooperate sensibly, then this practice could be not only sustainable, but also help build the global whale shark population.